Greg, we were sitting down talking over lunch yesterday.
hmm
You told me that for the last several years, every single year, you and your group has been able to bag a moose. I know a lot of people. I've got a really close friend who has struggled because he's not getting a moose a lot of years. And you told me, I was like, "What's your secret?" And as soon as you said it, I'm like, "We gotta talk about that in the pod."
Yeah,
What's your secret?
my dad was a hunting guide, and he knows what to look for and what not to do in the woods while looking for moose.
Welcome to the Blue Collar Millionaire Show. I am your host, Chad Hufford, and this is the podcast where we celebrate the unsung heroes of the working world. Each week, we dive into the incredible stories of honest, hardworking folks who have found financial success through grit, determination, and good old-fashioned elbow grease. So if you're ready to be inspired and learn how to turn your hard work into your own success story, you're in the right place. This is the Blue Collar Millionaire Show.
Okay, Greg, yesterday you mentioned that for the last several years, every time you've gone moose hunting, you've bagged one. And we were just having a conversation about moose hunting because I've got a buddy who's gone out the last several years, can't get one. Common thing in Alaska, people go out moose hunting.
hmm
And I asked you a question, and we weren't prepping for a podcast.
Right.
We were literally just talking, and I was like, "Well, why is it that you can get a moose every single year when a lot of friends and family that I know struggle to get one?"
Right.
And I loved your answer. And as soon as you said it, I'm like, "Dude, we got to talk about that in the podcast."
Yeah. Okay.
What's your secret?
Okay. So I got to preface that it's not necessarily just me that gets the moose, but the group that I go with gets a moose, and it's a few people in our family, and I attribute our success to my dad, who is a guide for many years. So he has just this wealth of background experience in moose hunting, because he essentially was a moose hunter professionally, where he took people out moose hunting, and so he knows just a huge amount about moose and how they act and when they're out and where they like to feed and all those different all those different things that maybe a lot of people don't think about. And so we end up with a lot of tricks for moose hunting.
Right. But I mean, ultimately, you go with your dad every year.
hmm
Your dad professionally was a guide.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm not trying to be like overly corny, but literally, so you're going with somebody who has been doing this longer than you,
Right.
who knows what to look for,
Right.
who knows what to avoid.
hmm
You shared some stories about like you guys will go out, get one early in the day,
Yeah.
and then later on you've already dressed it, and then other people are like just getting started,
Yeah.
with going
Yeah.
out for the day. And this isn't to mock or look down on like different people do things different ways, but just, I mean, the confidence that you're probably going to have going with somebody, not because you're so awesome, but because your dad knows what he's doing. He's
Certainly.
been down the path further than you.
Certainly. Yeah.
And the reason why I want to bring this up is because we even though we weren't having that conversation at all because of the podcast, we were just talking as friends.
Yeah.
But I loved it because it totally relates to what we had been planning on talking about today, which is the importance of having somebody in your corner.
hmm
At Veritas, obviously we've got, financial advisors who, partner up with a client, right? And as an entity, Veritas, we're going to guide and coach clients to become better investors,
Yeah. Certainly.
to walk with them down that path. In a recent conversation, we talked about one of the things that took us both off guard when we got into this industry is how little this job is number crunching and
hmm
scanning the market and nerding out. Is like, no, like that's really not the job at all. It's much more coming alongside a client relationally, being in their corner.
hmm
And people don't generally understand that. And I think it's fair to say probably a lot of advisors don't see their role that way. They probably see it as, I need to make sure to find the best investments.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's funny that you say that, because just yesterday I had a meeting with this young lady, and she says, how do you judge your success? I thought that was a great question. And and the answer to that is that there's a lot of clarity that's happening in that with that clarity, I feel like my client is being educated and they're able to respond to me with like more of an educated type of answer. Um, and so it's that partnership piece that I feel like is so important and sometimes is maybe missing in this industry where um, I don't judge my success necessarily off of like how awesome of a spreadsheet I have. I judge my success off of um, that my clients have long-term relationships with me. Because it's that advocate that you need when, things go wrong in life.
Yeah. And something we talk about, I mean, maybe not constantly, but I mean, every week, if not multiple times a week, is real life examples
Mhm.
that a client may be dealing with, with their advisor,
Yeah,
where on paper, this really isn't what they signed up for in terms of the things that they should be having their advisor help them with.
sure.
On paper, they didn't hire a financial advisor to help them get a good deal on a house,
Mhm.
to research the market for a house,
Right.
or to talk to their kids about money,
Mhm.
or to have healthy boundaries with adult children that are, renting a mother-in-law on their property, or get a little bit morbid here, but or because their spouse died unexpectedly
Right.
and they have no clue, not even just with money, but just with life stuff,
Yeah.
and they need a guide. They need somebody who cares enough about them,
Mhm.
but who isn't necessarily, their brother-in-law, or their friend at church, or their neighbor. And like we talked about last time, all of those things can be great, and I hope that everyone listening and all of our
Mhm.
clients do have, in-laws and friends at church and neighbors who they can lean on. But sometimes it's a really good balance to have it's a good thing to have somebody who has that balance of, they care about you, you've got relationship with them, they're not blood family.
Mhm.
And there can be a little bit of separation of church and state, but there's a huge amount of relational equity at the same time. And that's where, you come in. That's where the advisors come in. It's a beautiful thing.
It is. I think that one of the things about being a guide is that, going back to my dad's story, is that, you know, working with my dad having like just this huge wealth of knowledge around moose hunting has made me into a better hunter. I'm better at hunting now because he's poured all of this energy into getting me into being a more confident hunter out in the woods. And it's so much the same with what we do with investing and really just retirement planning in general and mindset stuff is that all of us have been um, guided, if you will, into the roles that we're at here in Veritas. And then we pass that along. If you look at major league sports coaches, they were all players, right? And they were all coached. And now they're coaches. And I think that there's a lot to that because all of those coaches poured down into those people and then they were built up to where they are now, right? And so ultimately, a lot falls on our shoulders as the advisor, but I feel like people just end up with a much bigger sense of confidence in tackling this big thing of finance that's so important to everybody's lives of because of the way that they're getting coached by us.
Yeah, because I mean, using staying with that hunting analogy, but obviously what we're talking about here with a financial advisor, if your dad had taken you hunting
Mhm.
and he's doing everything for you, like, you might come home with a moose every year,
You're right.
but what if something happens to your dad?
Yeah.
Or just, he can't make it this year. He's out of
Mhm.
town. He's sick, whatever. Well, you don't know anything more than you did before because he's always done the work. So yeah, you could have benefited from getting a moose, but instead he was, teaching you how to, now we're getting all the metaphors, teaching you how to fish, right?
Right.
Teaching you how to
Right.
hunt. And this is not like a nebulous, like, speculative idea. This happens all the time with people in investments where, they want somebody to just go out and find them the stuff,
Right.
find them the best investments, find them the right mutual fund,
Mhm.
whatever, instead of coaching them on what it means to be a good investor,
Right.
what a good investment actually is, what a good retirement plan actually is, and why.
Mhm.
And again, this might sound morbid, but we talk about this regularly. A huge blessing, a huge benefit that we provide our clients is they know, if heaven forbid, if something were to happen to their advisor, Veritas as a whole, and every single advisor that works here, we share the same principles. We're all different
Right.
humans, but
Right.
we share the same principles.
Yep.
That advisor is not the only tether to a wise financial plan.
Mhm.
But they are their initial, they're their guide, right? Um, I've spent a lot of time, our recent conversations, just talking about recovery, right?
Mhm.
My background, working with guys in recovery, going through recovery myself, starting 10 years ago and every day for the last decade, I had to learn really quickly. My mentor, Rick, he was rock solid. He was somebody that walked with me and taught me and all these different
Yeah.
things. Um, but he didn't just help me get sober. He helped guide me to learn how to live in a healthy way.
To change your lifestyle and your habits.
Correct.
Right.
The same way that somebody might walk through these doors
Mhm.
or send us an email or, ping us on Instagram or call us up, and all they want is, hey, can you find me the right mutual funds?
Right.
Hey, can you find me the best stocks? That's what they want. And there's nothing wrong with them wanting that. They don't know any different.
Sure.
But it's hard for us to explain sometimes. That's not what we do. Just like if I had gone to Rick and said, hey, I don't want you to do anything with me. I don't want you to help me in any way. I just want you to help me get sober. I don't want your help on my anger issues. I don't want your
Right.
help
Right.
as a dad. I don't want your help in any other way. He would have been like, that's not what it's about.
Right.
Recovery is teaching you how to be a healthy person. And
Absolutely.
yes, I got sober, thank God, but it wasn't just about stopping the one negative behavior. It was holistically taking apart my life,
Uh-huh.
and learning how to live in a healthy way. And I don't think it's a stretch to say it's the same principle that we do here at Veritas. We're not about, just finding those specific tools, but we truly do seek to help every client learn why these tools are good, learn why they should be doing things a certain kind of way.
Mhm.
And then we don't just step back and leave it. We continue to walk with them, for years.
Yeah, and we, sometimes there is a bit of redundancy in there, right? And so it's funny as you're going through that, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, my dad didn't tell me just like teach me how to shoot a gun at an animal. My dad taught me how to be in the woods and how to be disciplined in the woods and all of the different things that there is with that and how to skin all of the stuff, right? It's like become a part of my culture now, like who I am as a person, not
Like
um
just to make sure I understand,
yeah.
like, are you talking about basically, I mean, just, what to do when you're cold and wet,
Yeah,
how to
all of
make
it.
camp, start a fire, like all these different,
All the different things. I mean, how to live outside. I mean, that's hard, you know. All the different things. It's not just, it's not just the act of shooting at a moose, right? That's
right.
it. That's the and I think that, to your point, that's what in finance, that's what people want. What is the magic bullet? Can you just teach me how to pick the stock?
I thought you were gonna say teach me how to Dougie, and I wasn't sure where you're going with that. Sorry.
So yeah, how do I just pick the stock? What's the right stock that's just going to knock it out of the
Right.
ballpark? And it's like that's not how this works. This is a whole lifestyle. Um, this is fundamentally about your behavior now as a person and how you're going to respond in different ways when the market's up and down and when there's scary things on the news that happens. I mean, every couple months something changes our world in a different way.
Right.
And how are you going to respond now as a person? And it's similar to probably some of the things that you've experienced with recovery, like how am I going to respond to this new situation that I'm in?
Right. Yeah, I mean, the types of conversations that I have, because I didn't go through recovery past tense. I went through a recovery program, that was a 2-year program, and I graduated in 2018, but I've literally been attending and
Yeah.
now been leading for the last several years recovery groups every single week. I still use those tools. I still make those phone
Yeah.
calls. I still connect with those brothers. And the types of conversations I have are very rarely about my addiction.
Mm-hmm.
They're almost always about a stress that I'm having as a dad, or, here's a financial stress that came up, or, here's this little bit of anxiety about life, or a
Right.
parenting thing, whatever, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I didn't think that I'd be having those conversations, 10 years ago. Didn't think that that would be the types of conversations I'd have with my recovery brothers. But number one, that's what I need to have, because that stuff
Mm-hmm.
affects recovery. It affects temptations for addiction. But also, I've been blessed to have these relationships where some of my closest friends are recovery brothers. Now, they didn't start out as my closest friends.
Right.
I mean, I've shared this many times, my mentor, Rick, has become truly like my best friend outside of Carrie, one of my very closest friends in life. But he did not start out that way. He started out as like a drill sergeant,
Yeah.
kind of, I felt like he was a jerk to me. Like cause he wasn't a pushover,
Right. Right.
but that's what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, over the course of years, he's come to be a very close friend, and, like a grandpa to my kids. But it took all of these years of working with him. Again, it's a different thing, but there is some correlation with the advisors. Not that every advisor and every client is going to become best friends,
Right.
but I mean, I see it literally. I do see it every day. Somebody, and some of these clients, I mean, they think of us as like family, and we think
Sure.
of them as like family. And it's not every single client, but it's a whole heck of a lot of them. And it's really, I mean, a lot of people listening to this podcast. I see, folks on Instagram commenting, messaging, and stuff. Like, it's so cool because we get to be like this supplemental family for
Yeah,
them,
definitely.
and it's a tremendous blessing. But we wouldn't be that if we didn't start by saying, hey, here's what we're doing. We're not just, rocket money in human form.
Right.
Yeah. Like we're going to be walking with you
Mhm.
in life, hand in hand, going down the path together.
Yeah, I think, it's even still surprising to me some of the conversations that pop up. And, because money is one of those things that, makes the world go around, right? And so, yeah, we certainly end up having these conversations that I'm like, man, this person just, told me about their kid that's got cancer, or the
Right.
divorce that they might be going through here pretty soon, and what maybe we can help with these, big life-changing events.
Yep.
And so, yeah, like I said, it's still surprising, and it's a humbling spot for me to be in, that I do get to be, like you said, in somebody's corner,
Yeah.
and to be somebody that can be helpful in those moments when somebody's world is spinning. It's it, yeah, like I said, it's just a humbling experience.
Yeah. I mean, some of the things, as we talked about before, I still do some financial coaching, even though I've taken on some other roles for the most part, but I do still coach a few select clients. And when I've talked to folks about the idea of coaching, seeing if that's something that they're interested in, one of the very, very common questions, and it's a totally reasonable question, but it's hard to answer, is, well, what are the things that we'd be talking about? Because I
Yeah.
can list on a sticky note, well, here's some of the things. We'd be talking about how much money you're spending, and we'd be talking about some of your behaviors around money, and, very broadly, we can talk about your investments. But that's not the majority of what we'll actually be talking about with most people.
Right.
And the answer that they don't like, but it's the honest answer, is I don't know what we'll be talking about in 6 months, because I don't know where your life's going to be at.
Right.
Because it might be, we're talking about a job change, and I'm giving you feedback on, I mean, I had a lady who we literally spent multiple sessions, me giving her feedback on different job roles that she was considering, going over the application process, giving her some feedback on some of those conversations.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I didn't expect
Yeah.
that to be my role in her life. She didn't expect that. And I never said, I'm the expert, but I knew her. I knew her goals. I knew her motivations. And so as one of the people in her corner, because it certainly shouldn't only ever be one person, right?
Right.
But as one person in her corner, yeah, I can give you feedback on this, not because I'm an expert on, a new job or going over applications, but I'm something like an expert on you and your life because
Sure.
I've walked with you, session after session, countless hours talking through what's going on in your life.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So, I mean, this person might have come in because they thought that you were going to help them with their budget.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And again, like there's nothing wrong with that, right? That's a reasonable expectation. Although I do work very hard to dispel that notion. That not that we're not going to talk about that, but it's not the only thing. And I've had people say, I don't want to work with you if we're going to be talking about other things. If I only want to work with somebody who's going to go over my budget, point out some red flags, and that's it. And I'm not mad at that.
Right.
There are plenty of people that's what they do, and that's totally fine. I will say though, that's kind of the human version of Rocket Money or Mint Mobile or Every Dollar or whatever. And that's fine. That's not what I do.
Right.
In the same way that you are not just a human version of an advisor bot.
No, yeah, exactly. So actually the person that I met with yesterday had asked, so what do we do when we do checkups?
Yeah.
Just look at the investments?
Yeah.
Well, we can look at the investments, certainly, but I care more about what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
Because when we develop a plan that's engineered to last for a lifetime, okay? We don't change the plan because there's a new president. We don't change the plan because there's a war somewhere. We don't change the plan for anything that's happening out there in the world. Why we would change a plan is because, you know what, say maybe my client decided that they want to move out of the state and their budget's going to change because where they're moving is a lot cheaper than Alaska.
Yeah.
And that's why we would change the plan and perhaps the approach that we're taking to, this retirement plan that they have or their investments or any of those types of things. Those are the types of things I want to know about.
Yeah.
So it's really getting to know our clients on a real deep level. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've talked about a lot of good things, Greg, and I mean, there's plenty of connective tissue throughout all this, but I recognize I can ramble and meander with the best of them.
Oh, that's okay. That's good.
But I mean, to wrap all this up in a bow.
It's a weave.
That's right. So at the end of the hall in our office building, there's an elevator, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're in that elevator with somebody, they're going up to the dental office and they're like, hey, Greg, so, you work at Veritas, you're an advisor. So what do you do? And they're probably thinking that you pick stocks or they're thinking that you're an investment expert and that's all you do. What do you do? What are the top couple things you say, here's what I do as a financial advisor?
I help my clients not run out of money in retirement. That's goal number one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So goal number one is to make sure that, somebody doesn't run out of money in retirement, that they have a plan for retirement income that outpaces inflation for the rest of their life. Okay. And then I try to circle back around to the plan again.
Yeah.
Okay. It's really having a plan that matters so much in this industry. And to have somebody, like you said, in your corner that's going to help you with all the trials and tribulations of life. What I like to say is, life throws a lot of financial bombs at us, and it's my job to help my clients diffuse those.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate you sitting down and talking. I mean, the last 3 conversations we've had have been awesome. And for anybody listening, I mean, truly, we talk every day, you and me.
Yeah.
And it's been a blessing to be able to actually just, hit the record button and sit down in front of the camera while we talk. Because I mean, we're talking through our jobs, we're talking through our lives every day when we sit down.
It's a lot of fun.
So, but yeah, if anybody was willing to truly sit down and listen to my ramblings for a little while, I do think it will be of value. If nothing else, you brought up a lot of good points, so we'll leave it there. Thanks for your time, Greg.
Yeah, you too, Logan. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Blue Collar Millionaire Show. We hope this episode has been inspiring and beneficial to you. If you want help on your journey to financial freedom, reach out to us at veritasalaska.com. We'd love to sit down over a cup of coffee with you, either here in our office or virtually, and get to know you and your needs. And though this podcast is free of charge, we do ask that you please do us 2 quick favors. If you enjoyed the episode, give our pod a great rating on iTunes or whatever podcast platform you use, and also give us a follow on Instagram. We hope you have a wonderful day filled with gratitude and intentionality. God bless.